Hello, Snehal, and welcome to the best show in town.
I'm really honored to be in literally the best show in town.
Oh, I'm so happy that you said that. But I was actually thinking all this time that I haven't recorded Snehal's voice and I haven't recorded a conversation with Snehal because he's one of my favorite poets and he's one of my favorite humans rather because I love this person so much and your poetry is awesome. Your words, the recent poems that I have been reading on social media are just really too good. You know, Snehal, so you should take a bow when I say that you're one of the best poets that I know of in Guwahati, and I want you to really go forward. So, yes, let's start with your childhood. I believe
Yeah.
you grew up in Dibrugarh, right,
Yeah,
Snehal?
yeah. Before talking about my childhood, I want to say yes. I was also thinking, why haven't Tinath called me till till now in her show? I want to be in that show.
Yes, yes. And then I'm so it's my apologies that I
Yeah.
haven't invited you. In fact, you've been on my mind for so long, but then some activity or the other has been, kind of uh, cramping me off, and then all these things. So today I said no. Today has to be the day when I'm going to be speaking to Snehal. Right?
Okay,
Yes.
grateful. And yeah, starting from my childhood, it was
Yes.
in Dibrugarh. It's a
Hmm.
very small town, a serene habitat in Upper Assam.
Okay.
The place kind of defined my childhood in a
Hmm.
great way. My schooling was there. My father was employed there in the Bogeybill Bridge project,
Okay.
and I was in central school there. It was a old office building. The building was in shambles, but it still had memories. After all, a school is a school.
Hmm.
And from there, I dreamt of moving to a big city. And gradually, after class 10th, I came to Guwahati. So poetry started when I was in school in Dibrugarh itself. I remember it was in class 7th, I think.
Okay.
In class 7th, I was part of a quiz team that went to another school nearby in an Air Force campus.
Hmm.
That trip kind of ignited poetry in me. So I scribbled the words down, and my first poem was about the spring season. I don't remember the full poem, but the lines were like, "The season of spring, many happiness it brings." So I
Yeah.
tried to rhyme it in that way. I was just a kid rhyming with words,
Oh my
playing with
God,
words.
that's class seven. That was amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
trying to rhyme it, and then you were thinking of spring. I mean, I think you have a connection, deep connection with nature because you grew up in Dibrugarh, and as I know it, it's a very green place, right?
Yes, yes. It is also known as the tea city of India because
Okay.
you will. It is probably the only city in India where you will find tea gardens in midst of the city. Like you are crossing from one market to another, in between you will find tea gardens out of nowhere. So it was very beautiful by the river Brahmaputra. The sunsets were very beautiful in Dibrugarh. So, for a poet, you said that I love nature, I'm connected with nature. See, for a writer or a poet, one has to be connected with the nature because the first form of inspiration that comes to a writer's mind, it comes from nature. So, that's how it's connected.
Okay, wow. I'm so impressed. And every time I speak to you, there's a kind of you use that word serenity in the very
Yeah.
beginning. You said that I grew up in a town in Dibrugarh, and it had a very serene effect, and probably that's how your childhood was defined. When I meet you, I kind of find this serenity in you. There's a kind of peace which actually sits with you. So when I'm sitting with you, there is this feeling that I feel very peaceful. I think there must be this feeling must be likewise with other friends also when they sit with you because you exude a kind of calmness about your personality. So there is nothing hurried about you. You take one moment at a time, and I think I really like that about you. You really know how to enjoy every moment. Every moment, every time I'm with you, I see that you enjoy. You are in the moment. You're never anywhere else but in the moment, and that's something really nice. What do you think? What do you have to say about that?
Then again, like if you have to capture a moment, if you have to put it into words, you'll have to be imbibed completely inside it, right?
Hmm?
You have to experience it yourself for others to experience it through your writings. So, and also one more thing, I feel that since you have written many of my poems, you kind of feel this way about me. So, if other people read my poems, they will also have similar thoughts about me. I hope so.
Mm-hmm. Okay, So, so your poetry journey, I must say, started when you were just 7 years old. I
No,
think.
not seven. I was in class seven. I
Sorry,
think
sorry,
I
you
was.
were in class seven. Exactly.
Yeah,
Let
yeah,
me correct
yeah.
that. You were in class seven at that point of time.
Yes,
So
yes.
but then you were still very young. In class
Yeah.
seven, you were very young. How old were you at that time? I think you must have
12 or
been
13 I was. I
12
was
or
around
13.
12 or 13. Yeah.
Wow, that is pretty. That's pretty cool for a young person to start writing.
Yeah.
Usually at that time, young people are usually into playing and games and outdoor life and
What to
things
say?
like that.
I was more interested in academics only. I was a nerd in school.
Oh, that I can see from your words, because the kind of words you weave into your poems are like amazing, and the way you weave them,
Thank you.
it's always a pleasure to learn from you, and it's also a pleasure to read your poems not just once, because I always have this feeling that I should not be reading your poems just once. I should be reading it at least a couple of times. And
Yes, the smaller poems that I write, I
hmm,
try to make it simple and so that people can read it many times. Like they can enjoy. For example, the poem Telepathy. I'm really close to that poem Telepathy. So, like, I feel that it is rereadable. Multiple times you can read it to people.
yes, because your poetry book, Whispers from Horaigat, which is one of your famous productions, your creations, and I find that all the poems are so beautiful. What made you name this book in such a way? Whispers from Horaigat. It sounds so beautiful, so poetic and so romantic.
Yeah, the title has a story actually.
Okay.
When I came to Guwahati post my class 10th, I came to Guwahati and I studied in the famous Don Bosco school in Panwazar.
Hmm.
During that time and also after schooling, I when I was doing my preparations for entrance exams, I used to often go to the banks of the river, like the Brahmaputra, the Sarai Ghat, the place where the water supply project is being made. Those parts, also Ujan Bazar Ghat, Lachit Ghat, all those areas I used to visit, and those areas kind of ignited poetry in me. So I thought that how to connect the feelings which I had for the river or the ghats, how to connect it with my book, because on the face of it there is no poem which is directly addressing the Brahmaputra or the Saraigat. So but I also wanted a connection with that. So for that I thought that why not choose the name that I searched in Google, that there was no name of books titled as Whispers from Saraigat or Words from Saraigat or something like that. So I
Hmm.
thought that why not I become the pioneer in this and I start Whispers from Saraigat. If I write a second book, I can write it as Whispers from Saraigat again or part two or something like that.
Wow.
So that was in my mind, and also I wanted a picture of the Saraigat, but all the photographers they refused to give their pictures. And I also offered payments, but they were like, no, we don't want to share our pictures for this book or something. So I thought that no, I have to take matter in my own hands. I told Bhargav that I'll click picture myself. I took a DSLR, went to Saraigat. The police tried to stop me, so I was like driving the car, and on the move I clicked a picture, and that picture became the cover of my book.
Lovely, lovely. Oh my God! And I hope the police doesn't come and catch you, because they actually took a
No, no.
picture.
They are very strict about Saraigat because so many
Yes.
people try to do very bad things there. No,
Yes, but I
that's
have.
right.
So don't worry. If you have to go to the police, I can also go to the police, because I've taken n number of pictures on that
Yeah,
on that bridge, and it's so beautiful. When you
yeah,
take a
it's very
picture
beautiful.
from under those rails,
Yes,
it looks so good. And your
yes,
cover
yes,
is actually so beautiful. It brings a lot of memories for me, because
yes,
I used to drive through this way and then come back while going to college to in Hajo. So it has a lot of memories.
yes.
And yeah, so let's start talking about your book. You've got quite a few poems here. And if I flip through flip through your book, I love flipping through your book. In fact, you've got 26 poems.
Yeah.
And which is your favorite poem? You've got a whole lot of these lovely poems. Would you like to
Uh,
recite one? The
yeah,
one that you,
I
and would you
like
like to?
the.
I also would like you to say the background of the poem that you like, your best poem.
Okay.
Hmm.
I like to recite. I'll recite Telepathy because it is one of my favorite poems.
Okay.
It also kind of signifies the lack of communication we have in this era of communication and digital age.
Wow.
Right. So telepathy is about that. It is about when you want to say something, when you want to express, but you feel choked. You cannot express. despite having so many different forms of communication available at your fingertips.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I wrote the poem Telepathy, which goes like this.
Okay.
When words fall short, blanks remain unfilled, messages not sent, letters out of fashion, and fading conversation, space and time became a limitation. You wish telepathy was real.
Wow.
So this was about the fading conversation among our growing up generation. That people are like succumbing to depression and all these mental health issues just because they don't find a space to talk, to share, to express their views.
Wow, super. See, I love that. If I may repeat your poem, Telepathy, when words fall short, blanks remain unfilled, messages not sent, letters out of fashion, and fading conversation, space and time became a limitation. You wish telepathy was real. This is the poem, right?
Yeah, this is the poem. And you recite much better than me.
No,
Thank you.
I'm not even reciting. I'm feeling the whole poem because each and every word is so special in your poem. And you wish telepathy was real. Yes, we have so many things that we need to say, but then we just leave them unsaid. And your poem actually encapsulates this feeling that we have so many things left unsaid to our friends, to our family, to our maybe to my own son. I have so many things to tell him.
Yes.
And because of his time, he's studying, and I want to go tell him I love him so much. But then he has no time for me to do all those, those frivolous things of going and hugging him. But I do that more sometimes because I know that life is so short, and then if we just don't communicate, how is life going to happen otherwise?
Yes, and the telepathy is happening on both sides. The other person, your parents, they are also feeling that why doesn't he just share it? Why can't why he has to wait for us to respond to him? Right, and that person, he is just wish telepathy was real, wish my father is to understand what I am trying to say. Like that, it is happening.
So, in this context, Snehal, you're a very intense person. I would also like to discuss something with you. Recently, there was this friend of mine who I fell out of friendship with, because not me, I wasn't the one. Actually, I want you to kind of analyze this whole situation because you're a very intense person. That's why I'm asking you things besides poetry. I'm so I fell out of friendship with her, and I really wanted to tell her a lot of things before she blocked me out, and I was very sad that I could not tell her a lot of things. Plus, I really wanted her to discuss a lot of things, and then she just left many of us, not just me. She left quite a few other friends in the lurch, and we just couldn't say anything to her anymore. She just blocked us out of her life. And that made us feel very empty inside. Your poem actually made me go back to her. And this has happened just this past 1 week. So this is still fresh, and your poem actually speaks of this. It's not just about the younger generation that you're talking about. I think it happens with the older generation as well.
Yes, it happens to every generation actually.
Yes.
And also, if she has blocked you, there is no way you can communicate her by phone. At least you will have to write a letter or something, or visit her.
No, I did write her a letter. For your information, let me tell you, I did write her an email. And I told her that, I don't know why you have left all of us, and 3-4 of us, and I don't know what wrong we have done to you, but it would have been very nice if we would have had a conversation, and the doors of my house are always open for you. You may come in. I'm just one call away. If you ever think you should unblock me, please do that, and you can come back to all of us.
I think after a period of self-introspection or a space that she desperately needs, she will definitely contact you or your friends. Yes. I think you have to have patience for that.
And Snehal, don't you think life is too short for all this? Because I met you through Wizen Monk, and then we become such good friends. Yes. We feel for each other. We write, we converse, we meet, we talk, we laugh, we change so many different stories.
Even when I'm busy and I'm unable to text or call you, I drop a long text sometimes that I'm still, you are still in my mind. I miss you at events and all these things. Like, we should be expressive.
This is so nice. This
I
is
feel
what
we
I
should
have so much to learn from you, Snehal. You have done that. That when I'm not there in some event, you have done that. Yes, and that's so special when you say that I really miss you a lot. And that is something that I have never done because I am there in the moment and in my mind, like you have talked about telepathy, there is somebody in my mind. Yes, I am missing that person, but I've never really written like you. I have
Yes,
never.
we should
We
actually,
should.
because how will
We
that other
should.
person know that you are actually missing him or her?
True. I have this to learn from you, and I'm going to learn and I'm going to practice this. Because you have taught me this very important thing that I should connect. I
Yeah,
should
because
connect with you.
I feel that the strings of connection between humans, it is very thin. Once broken, it won't be again. It will take some time to reattach. So it's better to not let it break.
Yes, yes. Oh my God, I'm so happy, Snehal. You know what? I am getting you on a different level today because we have always spoken poetry, but then this is my privilege that I'm actually speaking to the
All
Snehal.
thanks to you. All thanks to you for setting up this.
No, but
I don't know what kind of setup you have done at your home. It took only 5 minutes.
no, there is no such setup. It was only that I had to tell everybody, please don't disturb me. I'm going to speak to Snehal right now, so don't come in and bang on the door or something. So I had to do that.
Okay.
That's the setup I have. But then, see, listeners of my show are going to be they're going to be very surprised that I'm coming up with a Snehal who is speaking from the heart. He speaks poetry all the time. Yes, we all know that Snehal loves poetry. He loves weaving words. He loves telling stories, and you've also got into fiction now. That's what I've
Yeah.
seen. I read your story. Can you tell us something about that? And
Yeah,
what made
actually,
you start writing fiction?
Yeah, actually, long before my poetry book got published, I used to think about it like, why can't I write fiction? I tried many times. Why can't I write a novel or something? If you scan through my laptop, there will be many unfinished fictional stories, short stories, and even novels, which I had started, and after chapter 2 or 3, I stopped because I could not stretch it. I could not take it to conclusion. So I was always thinking, even in my college, I was thinking, I was editorial head and documentation head in my college in a club.
Okay.
So I used to be involved in all these things, and I used to correct other people's stories. I used to proofread them, and I used to think, why can't I write like this? If I try to write at night, if I am pressurizing myself to write, it is always a poem. No doubt the poem is good, it satisfies me, but not a story. So that was a long struggle. But recently, what happened when Sentinel was publishing poems, and suddenly they asked for short story contributions. I challenged myself. No, I have to write, no matter what. Since my poem is not getting published this week, my story has to come out. So I told Bhargav that give me 2-3 days, and he told me, yeah, you take your time. I wrote 2 stories. One for a story compilation that Bhargav is making that will come out in September, and the other that I sent to Sentinel for publishing. And I took inspiration from Nirmali's horror stories because Nirmali's stories were kind of giving me the idea that I can also write. And it was like I have to set up the premise, I have to take it to a conclusion, and then I have to make a climax. That's all. So I just took it like a technical subject, like we study in college, that तुम premise लिखो, उसके बाद तुम उसको थोड़ा सा खींचो story को, थोड़े से उसमें elements, surprising elements डाल दो, and last में climax. Bang, your story is ready.
The recipe for a perfect story.
Yeah, that I kind of figured it out. Till now, I am just 2-story-old writer. So till now, this is the recipe, and I plan to continue writing short stories. And maybe publish as a book.
And I hope, just like Whispers from Horai Ghat, I want your book, your
Stories from Horai Ghat.
Yes, Stories from Horai Ghat, and which is again going to be published very soon. I'm just hoping for that book to come through, and this is going to be very exciting. I'm going to be hoping to read those stories, so I'm not going to read them now. I know that you're going to come up with lovely stories. So by the way, I'm very intrigued to know about one thing. How do you manage time? Because as far as I know, you work with the railways, right?
Yes, I have a very hectic job.
Ah, you have a hectic job, because I've seen those reels and stories that you make on social media. You are here, tripping there, going all over the place. How do you do that?
Poetry writing does not take too much of a time. It is like whole day if you are thinking about some idea or some idea has stuck in your mind, you can just scribble it in your mobile's notes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at night you can just finalize it, or the next day in office when you get a break, lunch break or something like that. I
Yes.
just scribble that poem that time. But for short stories, after writing 2 stories, I kind of understood that it takes time and it needs energy and efforts. And kudos to the short story writers who write regularly, and it is very tough work to do. Main thing is time. You have to invest a lot of time in short stories. So for these 2 stories, I took out the weekends. Like I canceled some events, I compromised on some sleep or something like that. And also one more thing I did was I wrote it in parts. First, I wrote a small draft. Then I kind of corrected it again and again. Draft 3 or 4 was my final story.
Wow. Super. I mean, I hope my young listeners are going to be very inspired by you, because if you have given away certain anecdotes of how to write short stories, how to write poetry, and I hope my young people who are going to listen to this particular podcast, I hope they're going to be inspired by you, because everyone is an inspiration. I think the inspiration is everywhere. So I hope through Snehal, my young listeners, if you're listening, please be inspired, because despite his very, very heavy and hectic schedule in the railways, which he does with great passion. I have seen that he's very sincere. When I see his pictures with the big bosses, he's moving, he's talking, he's walking with them, and then again he's writing his poetry, he's writing his short stories. So you can imagine the kind of energy he has and the kind of time he gives, because he says he's compromised on his sleep as well. So for young people who say that they don't have time, Snehal, I have a lot of students who say, no, we don't have time, to write even a page, or we don't have time to even read a book. And then that's when I tell them that you have to have a routine. Like for you, I think you have a very busy schedule. Despite that, you write poetry, you are into fiction now, you have compromised on your activities, and then you've written that. I think I am being very inspired by you. I'm getting
Also,
very, very inspired by you.
one more thing I'd like to add is, once you have a habit of writing, no matter what you are writing, it may be an academic writing, assignments, note making, if you have a habit of writing, you will write very fast. And if you write very fast, it takes lesser time, and it is not as much energy taking as it feels when somebody has no habit of writing. So I used to have a habit of writing and note making since school days. I used to make all my own notes before exams and all, and I used to just study my notes and go to exam. Even in college, that habit kind of continued. And even now, when you said that we will do a podcast, just for this podcast, I have till now written 6 pages in my diary.
Wow.
That if I get lost somewhere, I have these points in my mind. So I can just, even in the Wise and Monk events, for every event, I write at least 4 pages of speech ready. So it is always in my hand. It is always in my hand.
This is beautiful, Snehal. My goodness, I give you a standing ovation. And I hope you've covered everything. Like, whatever we are talking, I hope you're covering everything in your diary. That, I hope everything is being covered. And I hope I've not left anything. I don't want to leave out anything.
Since you started abruptly from a point, then I am not seeing the diary anymore.
Oh,
I'm just blabbering now. If I get stuck, then I'll see the diary.
See, this show, the show in town is all about just letting go. So my show is not even about anything. I remember some friends who came in and they spoke all rubbish. Rubbish in the sense they would be joking and cracking up like anything. And then the show became really nice, because I remember my friend Anjan would go and say things about being in the washroom and things like that. So this.
I think those things will make your show viral one day.
No. I want inspirational shows also, where my younger people younger to you are such a young boy yourself, but then I want people who are much younger to you, who are in school, and to be inspired by you, because I want them to listen to these podcasts, and then the kind of routine you have, what are the anecdotes of writing poetry and all that. So we've been doing so much of talking. I want you to please not recite if you're saying, or elocute, or speak about another one of your favorite poems. You spoke about a beautiful poem here, The Telepathy. Which is the next poem you'd like to talk about? You've got a lot of them.
Okay. I'd like to recite a poem called Words, which was published in The Sentinel last month, I think.
Okay, this is a new poem. This is not part.
This is not part of the book.
Okay.
I have made a rule that from now, wherever I speak, I'll speak poems which are new, not part of the book.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Fine.
So that will kind of inspire me to write more, right? So
Right.
that's why.
Exactly. And are you going to put this into a book or something later on? This is all
Yeah,
the poems that you
yeah,
have
sure. If
composed.
my publisher Bhargav wants that, then I'll surely put it into the book.
Of course, he'll want. Oh my gosh, he's another person who's such a great.
Yeah, yeah. And
inspiring person.
he came to the show before me.
So, yeah, I think that's very natural because since he's the what would you say, a publisher, so it's
Yeah.
wise enough for us to put him in the
Yeah, very very wise
in the
for
beginning.
authors to always keep the publisher in good books, you know.
Yes, so that he's happy and then he's going to
Yeah.
publish our books, right?
Yeah. That is quite a quid pro quo. Okay.
Right. Okay.
So
Let's listen to
so
your
the
poem.
words.
Yes.
The poem is titled Words. I'll explain the poem after reading it.
Okay. Sure.
So, words are like magic. Words are like magic. You make a string of them and they flow like a poem. You place them on a beat and they spread music. You express your feelings and they come true. You stop being you and they disappear too. So it was about words, like our words. We can play with words. Whatever we want to mold, wherever we want to mold, the words will get molded in that form. If you are making the string of words, that becomes a poem. If you place them on a beat, add a tune to it, it becomes music, right? When we express feelings, then only it will come true. For example, if a child wants ice cream and he doesn't tell, his parents will not know that he wants ice cream. But if he says that I want ice cream, then his father will give him ice cream. That his wish is coming true, right?
Mm-hmm.
So same way, you stop being you and they disappear too. The moment you are not yourself anymore, when you are sad, depressed, or when you are not feeling like talking to anyone, your words also disappear. You become silent, right? So this was the meaning of the poem, words.
That is so deep. Your words, your poems are so deep. I just wonder where all this comes from, because my better half, my husband, always keeps telling me that I need to think deep, and if he ever meets you, I think he's going to love it because you are such a deep thinker. The way you have composed this poem and the background of this entire poem is so intense that I'm loving it, Snehal. I'm really loving it, and I'm loving the fact that you have come onto my show. But you know what? I was just going through your book, and I would love to read this out to all those listeners who actually don't have your copy, but then I love reading about you. And it says, Snehal Deb, a civil engineer by profession. He likes to define himself as an explorer. In this thirst for new ventures, he has taken up multiple hobbies like traveling, that I know, painting, I haven't seen that, and poetry, which I know. He started writing down his thoughts in the form of poems at the age of 12 while growing up in the small town of Dibrugarh. You've told me that. He has written countless poems and I keep reading them every day, some of which got published in the Assam Tribune and other e-magazines and also now Sentinel. He writes on a myriad of topics ranging from social issues, personal life and abstract thoughts. These are amazing. And Snehal can be reached in his Instagram handle, that is at HPSNEH. How do you say that? HPSNEH?
HPSNEH.
HPSNEH.
Yes.
At the rate HPSNEH.
Yes.
Yes. So, and his email is, if any of you would like to write into him and give your opinion or something you want to ask his advice, then his email is hpsneh@live.com. So he can be reached in that manner. You can talk to him, and of course, if you just type in SNEHALDEB, you can find him. You can just go Google about him, and I'm sure you're going to find him on Facebook and other social media handles, right? Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, it is right. And I'm waiting to meet your better half also.
Yes, he'll be talking to you about history, because he's somebody who would be talking to you about all the history, and I'm somebody who would rather be in the moment than talk about history and geography. Of course, geography I'm very interested, but
sounds like me. Sounds like me.
Sounds
If I am in the moment, I am also explaining that moment, like this
yes.
happened, then this happened. Whatever trivia I know, I have to spell it out.
Yes, you are a very interesting person, and I'll make sure that both of you meet. You'll have endless hours of conversations together, and I hope both of you are happily. You're going to bore each other, and I will not be in that scene at all. I'll be happily out of that scene, and I'll wish both of you luck to be together. But yes, so Snehal, what are your other plans? Tell me, what are your future plans about writing, about going places? I want to really see you in the world arena. I know you contribute a poetry in the World Forum, but then when are you going to travel to New York to sign your book? That's what I'm looking at.
I'm hoping that day comes soon, but till now, like no khayali pulao in the sky.
No, no,
I'm just
that's not a khayali pulao. That's
I'm
a
just
dream I have for you.
yeah,
That's
I
a
know.
dream I have for you.
I know we all dream like that, but for that we have to take one step at a time. I'll have to publish another book. I'll have to write fiction. I'll have to make a mark in that
Yes.
also. Like people
Mm-hmm.
just know me as a poet. They don't know me as a fiction writer or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll have to kind of make like I'll have to write books, connect with the audience in Guwahati. We'll
You
have
write
to
very well. Let me
yeah,
tell you.
not just me, like whole wise and monk fraternity that we have, the
Mhm.
writers, we'll have to make our mark. We'll have to kind of when people see us, they should know that they are a group of writers. He's a writer, he's a poet, like that. So
Yes.
we'll have to take one step at a time. I plan to write fiction more, and I plan to publish a book of short stories.
Amazing, and I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And as we leave the show, before that, I would like to ask you the mandatory question about what is the message you'd like to give to younger writers, people who are about to write. Maybe not just younger writers, people who are older writers also. Maybe someone who's 60 and would start writing then. So, what is your
Yes.
advice to them?
Okay, then I'll be very technical. I'll give advice from the perspective of poetry as a
Okay.
poet. I'll say always be free from dogma. This actually I had prepared this note for the Wise and Monk interns because Bhargav had asked me to do a session with them. I made a whole 26 slide PPT because
Wow.
I was so passionate to help the interns. So I have these in mind that always be free from dogma. If you
Mm-hmm.
are writing poetry, there should not be any rules that bound you, unless you are writing a haiku or something like that. So write the idea instantly. Don't finalize it very quickly. Like chew on the idea for some time before sending it to publications. That is one advice that I can give. Another advice is always small poems are better than long verses when you are doing a performance or when you are doing a reading or something like that. Because we all know that the people's their what to say attention span is very less.
Yes.
So long poems are better once you are famous and once they are reading your book. But small poems are better when you are new to the scene.
Mm-hmm.
Then many people I know that they write very good poetry or short stories, but they are hesitant to send it to publication. That should not be there. People should send to publishers. They may like it, they may hate it, they may not publish it. That is not the concern. The main thing is we should send. Then only we will kind of get out of our comfort zone and we will get more suggestions and feedback.
Mm-hmm.
And also, rhyming scheme, grammar, all these things should not matter. The words should flow. This was about poetry. And for writing prose or article or stories, I feel these are very small things that we should keep in mind. One is the sentences should be small and crisp. The sentence should not be very long where people lose the meaning in the middle of the sentence. So it should be small and crisp, and there should always be clarity of thought behind what you're writing. It should not beat around the bush, and also proofreading is must. There should not be small mistakes which kind of put someone off to reading your item. So this was my small advice.
Superb. So I hope listeners, you heard what Snehal said. I'm inspired. I'm going to take up all those points and I'm going to do it myself because I'm also a learner. I'm still learning and I've learned so much from Snehal today. And thank you, Snehal, for coming onto my show. This is like I think this is one of the best things that's happened to me today, and talking to you has been a totally different experience because I've always met you on lighter moments. This conversation that we had has been a very serious yet intense and a fun one.
Yes,
So
and I wish it continued for 1 hour more.
we must have it again. And
Yeah,
this time we're going to come up with more. We're going to come up with different topics, and maybe we can rope in
Bhargav.
Bhargav also,
Yeah, yeah.
and maybe we can have a good conversation when we're
Yes,
sitting
yes,
together, and we can have a good podcast happening. I think we
yes,
should do that. And we should all have our own. I think I'm going to plan this out very soon, and
yes.
we can
And
have a
next
good
time
one.
I'll also read out Hindi poems. I write in Hindi too.
I didn't know about that. I didn't know about that.
Yeah,
That's
you
good.
missed the recent cafe poetry, right? I performed in
I
Hindi.
missed. Yes, I missed. And then you told me that I missed it. Yes, right.
Yes.
Next time I'll be there. Don't
Okay.
you worry, and I'm going to applause for you. Anyway, I'm going to be there and give you a standing ovation. I always give you a standing ovation, and standing
Yes.
ovation for today as well, because you've come up with so many anecdotes and advice for the young and the old alike. So thank you so much, Snehal, for giving
Thank you
me your
for having me.
time.
Thank
Thank
you
you
for
for your
having me.
time. Thank you for your time. You're such a busy person, and I know Sunday is a day where you want to take some rest, and um,
You
you
have
want
to
to write
read my
probably.
message. I'll always make time for you.
Yes, yes. Thank you. I'm honored, sir. I'm totally honored. And I'm waiting to hear more of that advice and all that information that we don't know, since we come from the village, So, that joke.
That inside joke should not have been here.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Everybody should know what we talk about. We love to do all that little joke on the side. That's okay.
Okay.
Right. So you take care, and please keep writing, and keep giving us your creative works, because I'm always waiting to read your next production, next creation. I'm just waiting, and I'm not going to read any of your stories because I'm waiting for that book of stories. which is
Compilation
going
of
to be
short
nice.
stories.
There's compilation of short
It might
stories.
take some time though.
Let it take time, but I'm going to wait. The wait is
Okay.
always so much better.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much, and you have
Thank
a
you.
great
Thank you.
day, Snehal. Thank you. So, listeners, I'm signing off, and Snehal was there with me, and that was the best show in town. Keep listening to my podcast where I get you new and these exciting guests. So that was Snehal Deb. Thank you, Snehal. Bye.
Bye bye.